Hello, hello. Hi guys. I hope we are all safe and healthy. Yeah, I'm recording this video to share my corn story. This is the Janjaruka challenge. I was nominated by May Wairimo. So, yeah, we worked on a good one back in 2013 by this guy called George. Georgie Con does around 6,500 USD. This was money that we had deposited into his account to facilitate importation of a vehicle from Japan. So, in 2013, we wanted to buy a car, and before I could get my head around the online procedure, my mom got a referral from a friend that there's this family friend of apparently there's like a complicated line of relation with a guy, and apparently he had a clearing and forwarding company that was not doing so well. And so when they were in the one of their chama meetings, they decided, why don't we give this guy a push, we throw him business because apparently he's not doing so well. And like they all bought in, and my mom was like, let's move forward with him, and let's use his clearing and forwarding company to get the moti. And I was like, okay, fine, because I still hadn't figured out the whole procedure of importing a vehicle. I was still working at my dad's company back then, but anyways, George, sorry, that was a bug on the screen. Anyways, George, I get in contact with George, and like he had a very reassuring tone and the way he would talk, and he just sounded like a very a mature and responsible person. After a few phone call conversations, we eventually met, and he showed me a few pictures of a few cars that he had already identified, different models, different shapes. So after deliberating with those involved, we picked one model, and well, he explained the procedure. So basically the procedure was you give him the initial amount, which is the price of the car, and you wait for the cargo. The waiting period was about 4 to 6 weeks, and then when it arrives, you send the remaining amount. So the total, I think, was coming to about between 800 900k. The whole thing in terms of getting the car to the port, and the clearing and transport all the way to Nairobi. So we're like, fine, that's pretty reasonable, it's within our budget, and the whole thing was started after a few meetings with him. Went to the bank with him, deposited the cash in his account, and we shook on it. And he said, should be fine, I'll send you a pro forma invoice, and after 4 to 6 weeks, I should give you a call, so you guys better be ready with the rest of the money for clearing it. Yeah, and that was that was a big mistake, because 4 weeks later I still had not received an invoice from him. And when I consulted my mom about it, she was just like, yeah, look, I trust the guy, he's he's a family friend, I'm sure Joji can't, So I was like, okay, fine. I was reassured, but just to be sure, I kept calling George, and I kept asking him, is everything okay? Is the car on the way? Where's the pro forma invoice? So he sends me a pro forma invoice. This is like maybe 5 weeks after we deposited the money in his bank account. The initial amount was $6,500. So it was probably, I don't know, maybe 650k. I'm not quite sure. Maybe. Yes. So, 4 weeks become 5 weeks. Eventually, we're at the 6 week mark, and he had only sent me a performer invoice, and like it had the details on there, and I mean, it didn't look fake. It just looked, well, it didn't look fake because it had the SBT thing on it, and it looked like it was fine, but it wasn't. Because I just started getting a weird vibe, because after he sent the performer invoice and after the 6 weeks had lapsed, every time I would call him, he would just be like, let me call you back. And then he would hang up. And there was this weird way he would talk. It was just so, I don't know, like it would calm you and reassure you, So every time I would call him, feeling panicked and, like, yo, what's happening? What's going on? Like you said, you'd send me a performer invoice and nothing has been, we haven't had anything. Do you want the rest of the cash? Like, where is the car? And every time I would call him feeling all panicked and stuff, he would just be like, and it was just the way he would talk, like, there was something he would, like, I don't know. Zangos know these people who are always like, yes. I completely understand. And it was just, and like every time he would go into that tone, I would just be like, but this guy is like, he's almost my dad's age. I don't think he's a con man. Goodness, Georgie. Anyways, so after getting fed up with his explanations, I finally decided, okay, let me just get on SPT and find out, if I can trace the cargo myself. So I asked him, is this the, like the cargo number? There was like a cargo number on the proforma invoice, and I was like, like, is this thing online? And he was like, yeah, it's online. You can even check it. But he didn't sound so sure because I asked him like a few times, and it took him a while to confirm. And so I get on the SBT website and I punch in the invoice number, and dealers, nothing. There is no cargo with that number that had been sent in the last 2 months. In fact, that was like a really old invoice of like a Corolla Fielder from like a 2007 model. And I was just like, whoa, excuse me, what? And like the person I was interacting with over the online portal was just like, yeah, do you want a car? And I'm just like, but like, I mean, I think I've already like paid you guys, and my car is like on the way, and they're like, okay, just talk to your clearing and forwarding agent. And I'm like, okay, fine, let me handle it with them. Georgie went to Mteza, and that was the last we heard of Georgie. I've never seen Georgie ever again. We tried calling him for weeks after that. Never picked up. So, we traced it back all the way to the source. So we went back to the aunt who, like referred him to us, and we were like, yo, what's happening? And she was like, yo, I guarantee you that the 2 cars that I have, Georgie is the one who brought them in for me. And she was like, this is completely out of the norm, it's unlike him. I don't think there's a situation. I mean, maybe you guys should just remain calm. And we were like, but how? Because this guy has disappeared with like, over 600k of our money. And we don't know what's happening, because it's either he needs the rest of the money to get the car to Nairobi, or the car is not there at all. And we just need to know what is happening. But Georgie is Mteja. So we're like, okay, fine. My aunt says, I know the wife, we can just go talk to the wife. So we trace the wife's phone number and we call her. And she's like, yeah, me, I haven't seen that nigga for around 7-8 months. Kumbe Joji had, packed up his bags and left his farmo in Nairobi and started another life somewhere in Busia or something. So that's when we went to the cops. And after, a few back and forth with the cops, they traced his line somewhere in Busia or something. But 6 weeks became, 3 months, and we just lost hope. Because the wife didn't even want anything to hear, about him. Because the wife was just like, this has nothing to do with me. If you guys, had an agreement with Joji, I no longer have any relations with that man. He left me and his kids, and we've just been fending for ourselves. And that's when we realized Kumbe Joji was going through I don't know what he was going through. It was like a financial hardship or something. And, he was just caught in between circumstances of, a few bad financial mistakes. And I think he was just in a downward spiral, and we were one of the unfortunate victims. So, yeah. He went with over 600k of that money. At least he didn't get the rest of the money, which was around maybe 300k for the clearing. Yeah, but till today, I especially now, I'm just thinking of that 600k, and I'm just like, wow, it would be really nice, especially during this quarantine. But you live and you learn. After we managed to get a few savings again together, we went in for another car. But this time, I did the whole procedure myself. I only got someone to actually clear the car for me from the port. But in terms of actually identifying and picking out a model, and actually, talking to the guys at the SBT, I think it's a Japanese company. I'm not sure. Yes, but after all of that, I eventually, because after that experience, I was just like, no freaking way. I'm giving my money to anyone else ever. And so, yeah, the second time around, we did the whole thing by ourselves. And the car eventually got to Nairobi. But this was after being conned around 600k. Yes, I'm laughing, but yani inauma sana. Yeah. So that's my con story. I think you should always try to figure out if you can do something by yourself. Before you start looking for middlemen or, shortcuts. And, that was a tough lesson. But till today, whenever I want to do something that involves money or purchasing anything, I, as involved as possible as you can be, and, just don't trust just anyone, no matter what. It doesn't matter whether they're a family referral. Just like Flacco's dad said in that video, it should just be about results. Yeah, we can let result happen. That's all it should be about. It's not about anything else other than the result. So yeah, that's my con story. Oh, snap. So I'm supposed to nominate someone else, but I hadn't really thought of that. So if any of you have a story about you or an experience that you had about being conned, please share on this Janjaruka challenge. Yeah. Yes, don't be conned.